But Lisa might have a little bit of light because many people at this time are turning their hobbies into a sideline business or maybe their main business to make the pounds and pennies go a bit further. Lisa's actually written a book. She's an author, podcaster, and business strategist. I can't even say that term, Lisa. So you know your stuff. The new book is called Make Money Online. Please do tell me more. And welcome to BBC Radio Kent, by the way.
Hi, thank you. The book is basically kind of telling people not only what I have done myself over the past 5 years and how I've, got out of my own debt, but also how I've helped over 6,000 people do similar things. 5 years ago, just 5.5 years ago, I was £30,000 in debt. And it was a lot. And I'd gone through a divorce and I had twins who were really little. And I knew that I couldn't make ends meet. The money from my job just didn't pay for what I needed to pay out, especially childcare. And so I started looking into side hustles and realised that there were quite a lot of people who were making money from just hobbies. And it might not be a huge amount of money at the beginning. For instance, the first one I saw was somebody was selling a PDF, like an ebook online, on how to get round a theme park with 2 under 2, like which was the best rides and all of that kind of thing. And I spoke to her and said, how much money are you making from this? It's something like £29. So I was assuming she'd say not very much. And it was hundreds and hundreds of pounds a month. And it got me thinking about how actually we all have knowledge that other people want, even if it's, could be something we did in our old business. It could be something we do now. Or it could be something that's just a life knowledge kind of thing, going through a divorce, anything like that people would buy that knowledge. And so I set up helping others to sell that online, things like courses or memberships, ebooks, that kind of thing. And it was huge. There were so many people that suddenly started making money from it. And that's what I taught in the book.
This is fascinating because it does sound like, my next question is going to be, can absolutely anybody do it? But from what you're saying, it sounds like they can.
They can. And at first I thought maybe not. I was my own experiment. So first I started because I had tried to have a wedding business and the wedding business failed in the first year. And I tried lots of things to make it work. I read all the business books that I could and I eventually turned it around. And I started then teaching other people the things that I'd done wrong and right to have a wedding business. And people were like, can I pay you for this information? And so that's what first got me going. And then I realized that actually it doesn't have to be like a business thing. It can be. But what about people that have done other things? I've had people who have had memberships and courses in how to deal with narcissistic, abusive husbands. I've had people that have had memberships on hula hooping, bringing fitness online, because anyone that does anything one-to-one, let's say you're a personal trainer in your job, if you bring that online and can teach 1,000 people instead of one person at a time, you are going to make more money doing that. And then people started to come to me with hobbies that they have. And I had a client who really likes the theatre. It was just a hobby for her. And so I told her to set up a membership about the theatre, because if one person likes theatre, lots of people do, and people want to be around people like them. And so she did. It was only £10 a month, something like that. And they always used to chat about what's coming out, what new theatre programmes are going to be, what are the best seats. And she made over £1 million during the whole pandemic when the theatres were closed. And it really showed me the power of putting your knowledge online. And now I've had lots and lots of clients making thousands and me myself having made millions from doing just that.
I'm sure many people will be heartened to hear this because it is such a struggle at the moment. Is the hardest bit finding that little nuggets to try and monetize? Because I think the problem is when people see it as a hobby, it's almost a mental thing, I presume you have to get over to realise that it can be a moneymaker.
Yeah, that is the first thing. Well, there's actually two things that stop people doing it. The first is whatever you look for, it will have already been done. And so people think, well, if somebody else is doing it, there's no point me putting a course on the same thing out there. But actually, people will buy from you because of the way you do it, the way you sell it, the way you talk about it. For instance, no hairdresser wakes up in the morning saying, I want to be a hairdresser, but there's no point because there's already a hairdresser out there. And yet online, that scares people that someone's already doing it. They feel like they're in comparison to those people when they don't need to be. And the second thing that people do is they think, well, I'm not the biggest expert in the world. You know, I'm not the biggest guru. I'm not Oprah. You know, I'm not Tony Robbins, all of these big people, when actually you don't have to be. People don't necessarily want to learn from someone a million steps away from where they are. You know, if you have a business and you're making a small amount of money, for instance, people often want to learn just how to start, just how to set up the business. They don't want to learn from somebody that's already, you know, has a multi-million-pound business. They want to learn from somebody that's making £1,000 a month. So whatever it is that you do, somebody out there will want to hear from you. The hardest thing is actually getting started, like telling yourself you can do it, the belief system. And secondly, you have to grow an audience online. And that scares some people, you know, talking online and putting themselves out there.
What do you need to get started? If someone is listening now, what do they need? If they're thinking, I need to think about this, I need to take it to the next step, what would you advise at the start?
Yeah, so I talk about this in the book. The best thing to do is get a big piece of paper and write down everything you think you know. Go back to all the jobs you've had in the past, whether you were in a call centre, whether you worked in a restaurant. Have a think about all of the transferable skills you have. Then have a look at what you're doing now, whether it's in a job that you're in or a business. Have a think about what skills you have. You know, maybe you use social media. Maybe you're really good at speaking on stages. All of these different things that people can do. And then have a think about your life skills, your life experiences, and how you could help somebody, you know, with me, it could be raising twins, you know, anything like that you've done. So have a think about those things and just write everything down on a piece of paper and then start looking at what's already out there, because you will see that some things do really well. You know, anything in the fitness and health does really well. Anything to do with helping people make more money, baking, like there's a whole range of things where people are already making money online. If it's already there, you know it's already a marketable thing that you can try.
How old are your twins now, Lisa?
And they're 11 now.
They must be super proud of their mum when they look at you and what you've managed to achieve already.
They are. I mean, it's funny for them because they don't really remember how hard things were for me before, you know, when I couldn't afford to pay the rent and that kind of thing, and I had to look at every penny. And now it's very different for them because they just see me helping all of these other people with my book and my courses and that kind of thing.
You sound absolutely brilliant, Lisa. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to chat today. I'd love to get you back on again. Can I hang on to your number? Because I also do a show on a Friday afternoon. I'd love to chat to you as part of that, because I think this wisdom, sadly, at the moment is going to be at top of everybody's wish list for many, many years to come while we're struggling through this period. How can people hear you on your podcast?
The podcast is called Making Money Online, and you can just go to it on iTunes or Spotify, or go straight to my website, which is lisajohnson.com. And on there's a lot of free things you can get as well, because I'm very aware that not everybody in a cost of living crisis can afford books and courses and things. So I've put some free stuff on there to get you started as well.
Lisa, your wisdom sounds absolutely brilliant. And I hope a lot of people who are feeling a bit depressed at the moment, struggling through, thinking, how can I make it, will absolutely take the next step and maybe let you hold their hands a bit, because it sounds like you have lots of ideas that could help a lot of us out. And I count myself in that camp as well, because I don't believe there's anyone who's finding it easy at the moment. I genuinely don't.
No. I think you're right. And all it takes is a belief in yourself that it can work for you. Because if it can work for someone like me, and it can work for people like me who, you know, I grew up in council housing. I had jobs that were paycheck to paycheck. I never had enough money at the end of the month. If it can work for me, it can work for anybody.
Lisa, you're inspirational. I hope I have the opportunity to talk to you again here on BBC Radio Kent.